A good morning to all of you except every single U.S. attorney appointed by Joe Biden. You are gone. You're fired. That was the message that President Trump just sent out. President Trump made the announcement from Truth Social. He wrote, quote, "Over the past 4 years, the Department of Justice has been politicized like never before. Therefore, I have instructed the termination of all remaining Biden-era U.S. attorneys. We must clean house immediately and restore confidence. America's golden age must have a fair justice system that begins today." The order comes on the heels of the Trump administration having fired more than 20 immigration lawyers from the Department of Justice who had been recently hired to serve as pro-migration judges in the nation's immigration courts. Again, this is all part of our uncovering just how deliberate the bumbling Biden administration was in flooding our nation with tens of millions of illegal aliens. Trump also reportedly fired over a dozen prosecutors who had previously worked on special counsel Jack Smith's weaponized cases against Trump. We got some confirmation that the firings have already been implemented from Julie Kelly at the Federalist. She tweeted out, quote, "A source just confirmed to me that the remaining Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys were indeed fired over the weekend. Some had resigned prior to Inauguration Day, while others were terminated afterwards. The axe fell on everyone else over the past few days, with Biden appointees losing access to their government accounts." Now, obviously this was inevitable. This was, for the very simple reason that you can't participate in the total weaponization of the entire Justice Department and then expect to keep your job under the very leader you weaponized that department against. This isn't hard. You can't participate in the weaponization of the entire Justice Department and then expect to keep your job under the very leader you weaponized that department against. This was absolutely inevitable, and I'm frankly stunned that so many of these Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys stuck around to find out. I think it's a telltale sign of their hubris in thinking that they are above accountability. Well, go ahead, keep thinking that as you stand in the unemployment line. In addition, the head of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, he has resigned. He's the guy who's been overseeing the quality of our food dramatically decline. And now that Bobby Kennedy's in charge, I'm assuming his resignation was preemptive. He would eventually have been fired by Bobby. And to make things even more glorious, Trump and Elon, they are now discussing a possible tax refund sent to every single taxpayer in the nation based on the total savings accumulated by Doge. And that's key. The tax refunds are coming from the savings of hundreds of billions of dollars already allocated to be spent for these woke, absurd slush funds and Democrat money laundering operations. So they would have a twofold effect. They would remind every single taxpayer just how corrupt the D.C. Democrat-infested swamp has become, and at the same time, let every taxpayer share in the celebration of having saved so much of their money. Again, these tax refunds won't cost the government a dime. The money's already been allocated. We've just stopped the absurdity to which it's been allocated. These refund checks would be reminders of just how corrupt the Democrats have been with our money. It's a twofold strike, and I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant. And that move alone could consign the Democrats to a permanent political minority. Case in point, even MSNBC's jaws are hitting the floor when told how much Social Security waste there really is. Check this out.
Inspector General audit last year that showed over an 8-year period, the Social Security Administration made almost $72 billion in improper payments, a little less than 1% of payments in that time period. Now, the report also says that most of these improper payments were overpayments, not payments to deceased people or people who didn't qualify to receive these payments. At the same time, Jose, this effort by Doge is to go through this agency like every other and try to weed out waste and fraud.
Yeah, well, it goes way beyond significant. President Trump, in his press conference yesterday from the tropical White House Mar-a-Lago, revealed just how deep the fraud in Social Security goes. This is maddening. Check this out.
But people that live to 100 to 109, 4,734,000. Wow, that's a lot. That means over 100 years old. There are 4 million people. I don't know too many. I know people that are doing great in their 90s, but not too many people over 100. But over 120, from 120 years old, people that are 120 years old up to 129. 3,472,000 people. People from 130 years old to 139 year old. 3,936,000. I wonder if people are getting paid with all this. I mean,
gang, our country and our world are going through an intense period of change. How we see and understand this change is largely shaped by the news we consume. With countless agendas competing for our attention, it's more important than ever to have the right tools to uncover bias, break free from big tech algorithms, and escape echo chambers. This is precisely why I use Ground News. It's a website and app that gathers stories from over 50,000 news sources worldwide, letting you compare coverage across the political spectrum and highlighting stories one side might be ignoring. See for yourself at ground.news/Steve. My favorite feature of Ground News is the blind spot feed. It shows you stories that are disproportionately reported by either the left or the right. I find it really helpful for gaining a balanced perspective in our hyper-polarized world. So, for example, here's a story that's mostly ignored by left-leaning outlets. Border czar Tom Homan suggests AOC could face investigation over migrant tips. And here's a recent story that has no coverage on the right. Trump administration fires thousands of U.S. Forest and National Park Service workers. Now, for both of these sides and for every story, Ground News gives you a breakdown of the sources covering it, the bias of the media outlets reporting across the left, center, and right, how reliable these sources have been in the past, and who owns them. I mean, this is the kind of news analysis you won't find anywhere else. Right now, my viewers can get 40% off the Unlimited Access Vantage plan, which is the same plan I have. Make sure you subscribe using my link at ground.news/Steve. Click on the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen when signing up. That's ground.news/Steve. Now, frankly, the Democrats have literally no idea how to respond to this barrage of corruption that's being revealed from D.C. I mean, literally no idea. In fact, Democrat operatives like James Carville, the raging Cajun James Carville himself, is basically telling the Democrats to sit this one out. There's no way they can find themselves on the right side of the moral high ground, as it were. Take a look.
So the question is, how should Democratic politicians respond to this? What I think they should do is what we call in rural America, play possum. Just let it go. Don't get in the way of it. Or as we like to say, don't just stand there, do nothing. Let this germinate. We don't need to get in front of it. This freight train is moving. Let's just get out of the way, and then we're going to have time. In the immortal words of Dalton in Roadhouse, be nice until it's time not to be nice.
And again, what Carville just said there is so revealing. He has no confidence in the Democrats' ability to harness whatever left-wing discontent is out there for the good of the party. Trump is absolutely politically steamrolling over these guys. Every day we're learning more and more just how corrupt D.C. really is. I mean, $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes. $2 million! $2 million to promote tourism in Lebanon. You know, I bet the people in Western North Carolina could have used that. $20 million for a Sesame Street show in Iraq. $1.5 million for DEI in Serbia. $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. This is your money. This is your $6 million for tourism in Egypt. Tourism in Egypt. $335 million on a diesel-fueled power plant in Afghanistan that just sat there because Afghans can't afford to import diesel. $300 to $500 million on a dam that was deemed too unsafe to use. This is your money. And we could go on and on and on. That's literally the 0.01% of the iceberg. And Carville, I think, is absolutely right to think that Democrats, they just need to shut the hell up at this point. Let their grassroots, leftist, activist, woke lunatics, rise up in arms and protest in their parks as they see their Mecca, D.C., dismantled in real time. But there's really nothing at this point that the Democrat Party, the leadership, can do about it. They've been shut out of power in one of the biggest landslide wins in 2 generations that you made happen on November 5th. And every time these Democrat leaders, these octogenarians, go out there and hold a public rally that tries to channel their inner Woodstock, their inner hippie, singing these songs, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Chuck Schumer holding up his Corona beer and his guac and his avocado. Guac comes from an avocado. You know that, right? Stupid knuckle-dragging voters out there. You know that, right? Every time the Democrat leadership literally crawls out of the hole they live in, they end up getting mercilessly mocked. And here's the key: mercilessly mocked by their own constituents, by people like Bill Maher, Jon Stewart. Democrat leadership is being mocked and ridiculed by fellow Democrats. That's how pathetic they are. But how couldn't they be? I mean, think about it. How could anyone possibly be opposed to efforts to root out waste, fraud, and abuse by the hundreds of billions? Unless, of course, you're the one profiting and benefiting from that waste, fraud, and abuse. Everyone sees it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Americans see what's going on here. Taxpayers see what's going on here. The more money Trump saves the taxpayers, the higher his approval rating's been going. Virtually every single polling outlet currently shows Trump with his highest approval ratings ever this very week. And why? Because he's doing what he said he was going to do, which means that he's doing precisely what he was elected to do. Reform a capital city that has been overrun by entitled bureaucrats who think the government belongs to them, not you. And no matter how much the legacy media tries to defend those government bureaucrats, if anything, it's only backfiring all the more. Trump's poll numbers only end up going up as a result of those desperate defenses. It's a winning political formula that simply, as I see it, it's unassailable by Democrat partisan hacks. No amount of gotcha journalism from the legacy media is going to overcome this massive political juggernaut that Trump has identified. Right now is our time. This is our moment. And the beauty is that we're just getting started. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here. Hey there, Dr. Steve here, and I got a question for you. What if you could go back in time and get in on the Bitcoin era when it was still just under $1? Or buy a prime real estate before the market exploded, say in Manhattan? Or invest in a company like Tesla before the whole world caught on? Well, that's exactly where we are right now. The parallel economy is exploding like never before. New financial opportunities are opening up, and those who see the shift and take action early are the ones who will prosper the most. That's why I'm hosting a live 90-minute event on February 27th called the America's Golden Age Summit. Now, I'll be joined by some amazing expert guests who are going to show you how to position yourself for massive success in this new era. But even better, what exactly to do in this new era. It's a truly one-of-a-kind, game-changing event. Click the link, grab your spot, and be a part of America's Golden Age Summit. Do not miss this chance to get ahead. I can't wait to see you there.